All right, this is 8th grade pre-algebra subtracting integers 2.3, page 68 in your book. And I got to thinking I probably could be writing those page numbers. Please follow along in your book. There's a lot of important information, so I would like to see books open while the podcasts are going on. So here we go, key vocabulary again. Notice, shoosh, it's all about integers, right? Positive numbers, negative numbers, and 0. So I guess we'll get integer down. Opposites are the positive and the negative. For example, 5 and negative 5. Those are opposites of each other. And difference means to subtract. All right, so this is subtracting integers. So let's take a look at this example. Before we do the example, let's take a look at the key concept box. There's some important words right there, and this is where sometimes Mrs. Bivens has stupid ways to remember how to do things, and I don't remember if a teacher taught me to do this or if I made it up myself. I think I made it up myself. It's just I don't think anybody would want to take credit for this little thing that I'm going to show you that I remember. In the key concept box, there is, and you're writing this right here, key concept. You'll notice that it says words, okay? Okay, to subtract an integer, okay, you add its opposite. All right, so here's the deal. When you add its opposite, let's take a look at what it looks like with numbers. Okay, here is, and I'll come back to this little thing that I'm going to have you guys do. Here's what it is. The 3 minus 7. Okay, 3 minus 7 is the same as taking 3 and adding the opposite of 7, which is negative 7. Adding the opposite. So subtracting is the same as adding the opposite. So let's take a look at this number. And the answer it is negative 4. So check out in the numbers 2 minus negative 6. So you say it's 2 minus, so subtracting is the same as adding the opposite of negative 6, which is positive 6, which would be 8. Now, I got to tell you, subtracting integers is really tough. It's like this. You have, if you think of them, if you really try to think of it, you have $3 and you owe somebody 7. If you paid them the $3 you had, you still owe them 4. Okay? If you have now this is where it gets confusing. You have $2 and you owe somebody negative 6. Okay? Now, adding the opposite and in subtracting, I want you to think of, it's really weird to explain this in a situation, but when we were little kids and we first learned how to subtract, we said it was take away. Okay, so if we have 2 take away negative 6, negative 6, if I relate it to money, that's like owing money. Well, if I take away what you owe, I really give it to you. It becomes positive to you. So for example, let's say you borrow $3 from me. And you say, here, I'm going to pay you back the $3. And I say, oh, don't forget about it. You can keep it. No, you don't have to pay me back. I really gave you $3. That's a positive 3 to you, not a negative 3. So adding the opposite. So I used to try to figure out all these explanations, and it still didn't make sense to me. I still didn't understand it, and I couldn't understand it. And there's the algebra. A minus B is the same as A plus negative B. And A minus negative B is A plus positive B. Adding the opposite. Adding the opposite. So in my brain, that's what I heard right there. Do you see that? Adding its opposite. I just kept saying over and over, adding the opposite. Okay, so to me, I was starting to do all these subtraction problems, and a problem like this up here, in my opinion, in my world, became unfriendly. I didn't understand how to do it. Everybody was getting the right answers. I was all frustrated, and I'm thinking adding the opposite, and they do it and get it right, and I was like, oh, I don't get it. Adding the opposite. Then in my brain, I started seeing that people, when it was adding the opposite, they were taking the subtraction and they were changing it to addition. And I thought, you know what? I think addition is way more friendly than subtraction. So I noticed you leave the first number alone. You don't do anything to the first number. The minus sign you change to a plus sign. That's changing the adding part. Okay? Then you take the opposite of -9, which is +9. So I added the opposite, added the opposite. Now in my brain I kept hearing added the opposite, adding the opposite. So I started hearing this, adding the opposite, adding the opposite. And in my head I heard adding the opposite. I heard boom, boom. So whenever I came across a subtraction problem that was unfriendly to me, I would do what I called boom, boom. The first boom is changing the minus to an adding. The second boom is making the next number the opposite of what it was. So I'd come to a problem like this and I go, ooh, unfriendly, don't like it. So -56 minus, I'd go boom, boom, adding the opposite. And then I would just go back to the rules we learned in the last lesson and add. So now I know how to add, and even with integers. Now you go back to those rules. They're different signs. So we subtract them. 56 minus 9 is 47, and there were more negatives, so it's -47. And I just had to come up with a way to do it and figure out exactly how I was going to be successful in subtracting integers, adding the opposite. So there's a lot of stuff in there, and I'll keep talking about boom, boom. And there they are. They're showing it. Let me see. I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. You guys can't see anything. They're showing what they did, and that really the boom, boom right here just became +9. So then it became -47. So I look at this and I go, oh, another subtraction problem. That's unfriendly. I don't understand. You never, never, ever, ever, ever boom the first number. Leave the first number alone. Okay, so this first number never gets boomed. So you go -14 minus. So when you say minus, that's the unfriendly little trigger. Get it? Trigger to go boom, boom. So the first boom is to change this to a plus. The second boom, that's a 21. We make it -21. So -14 plus -21, the signs are the same, so you just add them and it stays negative, -35. So let me write that again, -14 minus 21, I went boom, boom. There's my adding the opposite. And then it becomes -35. So example number 2, let's put some numbers in and let's make this thing happen. So we evaluate, we put in 15 minus 24 minus -36, and I'm going to put parentheses around it just to separate the two minuses. So there's two subtractions in there, and I don't like either one of them. I don't think either one's friendly, so I'm going to go through, and whenever I say minus, that's going to be the trigger to start my boom boom. So 15, I never do anything with the first number. 15 minus, so I go boom, boom, and then minus again, boom, boom. I added the opposite, added the opposite. Now I go through and like we did in the last one, I'm going to do all the positives. 36 and 15 are positive, so I add those together. That's 51 plus the -24. Those signs are opposite, so you subtract. And there were more positives than negatives, so the answer is +27. Let's see how they did this. They added, and there's their negative, and they got the same. So let's look at example number 3. It says, standardized test practice, oceanography. So far, the sound fixing and ranging channel is a layer of water in the oceans, as shown on the right, that allows sound to travel extremely long distances. What is the vertical height of the so far channel? Okay, how tall is that channel? The vertical height to me then would be from here to here. Okay, how far is it from there to there? I don't even know if I need to do a subtraction problem on that. Isn't it just 600 meters? It's not negative because it's distance. Distance is never negative. Let's take a chance and see if I got it right. Woohoo! Look at that. To me, that was just logic. They wrote a subtraction problem. Negative 600 minus the difference of those. They boomed it. See right there? This would be boom, boom. And they ended up with 600. Pretty cool. All right, so let's do some of these. Evaluate the expression. So I'm going along. You guys, if I do a regular subtraction problem like 31 minus 10, I don't need to boom that. That's easy. I know that's 21. But if I look over here and I go, oh, I'm not really sure, so I say 15 minus, so I go boom, boom. Now I've made it an addition problem, and I do those easy addition rules that we just practiced in the last lesson. I have signs that are different, so I subtract them. 26, and there are more negatives because 41 is bigger than 15, so the answer is negative 26. So I boomed it, made it an addition problem, and then followed my addition rules. So adding the opposite, that's the way of them saying you do boom, boom. Negative 26. So this one again, negative 16 minus 8. So I go boom, boom. Notice I don't do anything to the first number. Never, never, ever, ever, ever boom the first number. So negative 16 plus negative 8, they're both negative, would be negative 24. That just makes it so much easier. Good to go. Negative 24. Then we have to do some variable expressions here. We're going to substitute in, being careful of all my negatives. So let me see here. I have 8 minus b, which is negative 15, and I'll separate those with some minus, negative 6. So I go through an 8 minus, I'm going to go boom, boom, and boom, boom. And look at that. It made everything positive. So, and you can add in any order. 15 plus 6 is 21, and 21 plus 8 is 29. Let's see what we got. We substituted them in. We did all the boom booming, and we added. The answer is 29. Okay, and especially for those who had me last year, you already know kind of the boom boom. This is just a review. Those who haven't, if you don't understand it, make sure you ask. What is the difference in elevation between 4 feet above sea level and 30 feet below sea level? What I like to do when I do problems like this is make a vertical number line. That's a terrible line. Let me see if I can make a better one. Okay, is make a vertical number line like this. I'm going to put sea level is right here, which is 0. And we have 4 feet above, so 4 would be up here. And then down here is 30 feet below. So what I do is I go, okay, from here to here, there's 4. From here to here, there's 30. What is that all together? 34. So what's the difference in elevation? It would be 34 feet. Now what they want you to do is write a subtraction problem. 4 minus negative 30, and then you boom, boom those, and you would come up with 34. I like to see pictures. So what I want you to do is to make sure that you boom boom your problems. Make sure you're changing them to addition problems and changing the opposite. And do me a favor, don't boom boom in the book. Make sure you write the problem out so you can do the boom boom. You can show me that you are subtracting that. If you're missing a lot of them, then I will make you redo those and show your work. So we'll see you next time.